So can we do another test? We should be on now. I just grabbed a new key. Just want to make sure if you guys see that we're on. Yes, we are on.
Yeah, looks like we are on.
Now we're on, right? It says it's live.
Yep, live stream.
All right, I guess we are golden. Okay. See?
No, it's not showing as live.
Oh, hold up. Oh, shoot.
Because it would have the little badge on your name, right? Oh, never mind, that is. It is
Yep.
on. Yep. Because it would have the little badge on your
Let
name.
me turn the phone up, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind, that is.
All right. We're good.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for waiting. Let me drink a water and start. All right. Your sound is good. Your microphone is open. We are golden. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Modern Choice Financial Podcast, where we talk about real estate, mortgage, finance, financial work, and everything you need to know to be successful in your daily life and your financial. Today's episode is kind of on the go because my new best friends walked into my office and I'm like, you know what, just getting to know you guys, but today is the day that we have a podcast that goes live at 6 o'clock instead of me trying to spend some time to get to know you guys, because I know their industry very well because I'm technically in the same industry, one of the sector of my company, but I just want to know more about their product and what they can offer to my clients, so we can hopefully eventually bring them in and offer it to all of our future clients or current client and past clients. With that being said, I'm gonna turn the camera to them and have them introduce themselves and their company and what is this about, so we can start the show running from that point on. Let's go.
Hi, Joe Morgan. I'm actually a Las Vegas native, Valley High School grad. Right after high school, went to play college football. Became a college football coach for a long time, for about 14 years. So between playing and coaching for a while. But then I knew I wanted to get out, especially right after the pandemic. So saw an opportunity to come back home, and I still wanted to work with people. I just didn't know from what aspect. So instead of working with high school seniors, college football players, now I work with business owners, also work with individuals who want to create some financial protection for themselves, also for their family. A couple carriers I use, Colonial Life and Guardian, but the company I'm with is actually Benefits Bridge, and this is one of my business partners, Matt.
Yeah, Matthew Bowen. Originally from Arkansas. I'm now a Vegas local. Been here since 2016 by way of the Air Force. Moved me out here. I got out of the Air Force in 2020. Started my adventures, starting a small business, doing insurance, employee benefits, financial strategies for business owners by just leveraging some of the products for the companies that Joe talked about here. We've been partnering in this market and operating the Valley for about 3 years now.
That is awesome. So as you guys know, financial industry is kind of broad. There's a lot of big players in the industry and the financial era, but there are certain ones that are A-rated or A-plus rated, that are been there, done that, they've tested, the consumer knows who they are and they've been rooted. And one of the things that is kind of, for the lack of better term, is kind of like disturbing in this country is lack of education about this kind of products, because kids go to school, graduate after 12 years, they have no clue what is financial worth means and what that has to do with their future. It plays a huge role in people's future if they plan it right, especially early on, like in their 20s, hopefully, if they know about it. Unfortunately, a lot of people, which is fall under that 97% of the society, they don't have the financial advisor, because technically they don't categorize as the top 3% of the society that they can afford to have a financial advisor to teach them about all of that. School is not helping, and since they don't have access to that because it's a paid service, right?
Sure.
And unfortunately, they kind of left behind, and they have no clue what's going on and how rich are utilizing all these different vehicles to get richer, and they just don't know. And it's fascinating what's going on, and it's always my personal passion to talk about it and create enough awareness as possible, especially to the younger generation, so they can plan it right, so they can stay ahead of the game, so when they grow up they feel like, okay, I've done good when I was in 20 years old. Thank you to so and so that actually opened my eyes. I didn't know about it. They didn't taught me in the school, but this guy took his time to explain everything and how things work. And now I created all these cash flows in my different financial vehicles, or AKA policies. And on top of that, if something happened to me, my families are covered. My kids have a good college fund, and it all happened with pennies or very minimum investment per month that could have been spent in like daily coffees, right?
Sure.
So speaking of that, since mainly my entire company is built over real estate, so we do like real estate, mortgage, and insurance, I want to tailor more towards that side, but then towards the end we're going to talk about all the other products that are available to the rest of the world, right? So let's talk about mortgage protection. Whoever want to volunteer, let's just start with that product.
Yeah, no, I'll tailor it right into mortgage protection. So 2010, just my father was sick, but he did pass away unexpectedly, and I think I was a year out from graduating college, had my first job. For me, it was a lot of money, but in grand scheme of things, it really wasn't. And so he passed away. I came back, and my sister, she's a single parent with 2 kids. She didn't have any money. My little sister just graduated from high school. She didn't have any money. So coming back, between money we were able to pull together, and he worked for a cab company, and we were very fortunate. They put together like a collection plate almost. But so we're able to get most. People might know this or not, but it can be expensive to put somebody in the ground. It's at least $10,000. That was back in 2010, and so we were at the point we ran out of money. And thank God he was a vet, and we had to go through the pain of the process of the VA when it comes to their assistance. But if he wasn't a vet, I had everything else. I had the coffin, and we had the opportunity to view him for the last time, but I had nowhere to put him, and I had no money, and he didn't have a life insurance policy. I know we're talking about mortgage protection, but thank God for the VA coming in and help us out, and we're able to, we took him out to the military or the cemetery in Boulder City. And I bring that up because, had he had an asset like a house, I didn't have any money to take over any payments. He had a lot of medical bills, creditors would have came after his assets. And so I keep that in mind when it comes to having something in place when something happens that's going to cover your short-term and long-term financial responsibilities. And so coming into the protection strategies and protection life insurance game, this is something I really feel really passionate about, for not me, but most Americans, all Americans. For sure.
Do you want to add?
Yeah, I'm always had a passion for investing in real estate myself. When I got back from deployment, I bought my first house. I work with real estate agents, investors now. The big thing about real estate is you're creating a baseline for generational wealth for your future family.
For
and
sure.
It's a build, it's an investment. There's a lot of techniques nowadays where you can leverage debt to make those investments, diversify your portfolio, and grow them at a rate that you weren't able to 10 years ago.
Yes.
As you are leveraging these debts, if something was to happen to you, you are not going to be passing on generational wealth and assets. You're going to be passing on debt. You know, you banking on having, you know, the money or the support or the time to cover your investments, so it is a vehicle asset to pass on. It's a game of chance. So having a policy in place to offset your debts, so at least if you fall short of your goal, you have a policy. Let's say it's a car wreck or accident, you die, it covers your debt. So you still live that dream of passing on that generational wealth. You still pass that asset on. This is one of the few things that you have an investment and you have investment protection.
For sure. So speaking of that, I'm gonna kind of like pivot into a couple of different type of product. Then we're gonna go back to this because this is the main point of our conversation today: how to cover your mortgage if you're not around. And a lot of people don't know what's available to them. But let's pivot to what you just said. First of all, obviously, if you're renting, you're just paying your landlord's mortgage, right? Now you bought a home, you're paying your mortgage. This is the smartest thing to do. On top of that, you're building equity on that property, right? Every time you send that payment for your mortgage, it goes into like a saving account, aka your home. And then your home, over the course of the next decade or couple decades, is gonna appreciate in value. Let alone last 3 years, we had 20 to 25% increase in value in many part of our town.
Absolutely.
Which is unheard of. There's no return on any of the investment vehicles like this, right? On top of that, it's tangible. It's yours. You own it. You have the title to it, right? But as what you said, what if life happened, right? So I would say 80% of my clients that purchase a home, they're couples. So 2 of them were qualified income-wise to buy that property, meaning in the investment world, there's a term called debt-to-income ratio. So they calculated what they make together and also what is their monthly liabilities, or like all the other payments that a car payment, credit card payment, loan, student loan, whatever they have, right? So usually their mortgage payment cannot be more than 45% of their total income, right? So now, what if one of the two is no longer in the picture for whatever reason? Anything can happen, right? Accident, heart attack, COVID, whatever, right? Things can happen, right? And that's life. We call it life just happened, right? So now that a person is not around, not only that family suffer from the loss of that person, they're losing that person's income as well with the person. So there's like double loss. So then if there's nothing in place to replace that, now it become like extra burden on the remainder of the family, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
Either one of the spouses that is basically still alive, for the lack of a better term, lost that income, most likely not going to be able to continuing to make that mortgage payment because there used to be 2 income coming into the house. Now it's only 1 income. And also all the other extra expenses. That's why when I talk about this kind of product, I have complete passion. I want to make sure like I embed it in people's head that it's so important for you to have it. Like there's all kinds of memes about it. Instead of buying a $5 coffee a day, put the money aside and pay for your life insurance or any sort of financial vehicle. It really doesn't need to be necessarily labeled as life insurance, because there's a lot of products out there fall under life insurance product. Reason why they do that is because of the code with IRS, right? That is when you put money in it or take money out of it, is tax-free. That's the biggest benefit.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So now we're having this product that you don't necessarily need to die for somebody else to benefit, because that's one of the rebuttal I get all the time when I talk to people about any life product, any financial product. I don't want to put money aside for somebody else to take it. I'm like, first of all, I mean, that shows what kind of a person you are, right? Your kids, your family. I mean, why you even have a family if you don't think that way, right? But if you do have a family and you really care for the future of them, you probably don't want after you leave, they're like, oh my God, now we gotta pay for your burial. We gotta go, like, it's so heartbreaking when you see people in the corner of the street, like they're doing what, like a GoFundMe or those car wash donation. You know what I mean? So, but if the person in early age, or even never late, basically, you know what I mean? They're a product for everybody. There's like a product for people even over 6 years old, like final expense. At least it would cover their burial and all the other costs, right? Sure. So there's a lot to cover. This whole financial era is kind of like very complex. There's different product for everything. As I said, you don't need to pass away for somebody else to benefit from it. You can have a cash value built into your policy that act as tax-free, almost like CD, but you don't pay tax on it, right? And you have access to it anytime. Take it, use it, put it back, and it's called Be Your Own Bank. There's all kinds of product for it. So with that being said, I want to circle back to our original topic of the day. Mortgage protection. Let's go a little bit more in depth, explain for our client actually how it works, why they call it mortgage protection policy, and what is essential work for the policy that comes into place when someone, have some hardship.
You want to take it?
Yes. There's a couple layers to it. Like you said, the life insurance policy is more so a platform or a vehicle that's used to house different strategies. For mortgage protection, what I like to put people in perspective, especially couples, first-time homeowners, similar to what you were talking about. They usually come together, they qualify because both of them have the income together. Let's say it's a 15-year mortgage, and they bought a house for $600,000. They each together, they make around $150,000 a year. They have a couple kids. If one of them passes away, that burden of that household is still going to be operating like it's two earners. It's still going to be operating like it's a $150,000 a year household, but you either lost your top earner or your next in line earner, and you still have the same obligation.
Pretty much.
What we tell people is you can get a term policy, which a term policy is a life insurance policy that operates on a term. So let's say you have a 15-year mortgage and your obligation is $600,000. You can get a 15-year term policy to offset the cost of that debt at $600,000. So if anything happens to you during that debt obligation, that money is sent to pay off your house. Now, in that time frame, if you do want to extend that or convert that to whole life, there's different things you can put on there, like a conversion rider. Let's say you're like, hey, I want to convert this to whole life because getting a term policy does guarantee some insurability for you.
Yes.
You can turn a piece of it into whole life at a time as budget allows. But the objective is at minimum protect your asset. You don't want to leave your spouse with any more money or any more obligation than you have to. So like you said, the cost of what your Starbucks would be 2 days out the week, you could buy a policy that's going to cover the debt on your house. So when you leave, you pass asset down.
For sure.
And reality is, if we knew when we were get sick or get into a car accident or pass away, there'd be no reason to have these strategies because we'd be prepared for it. And I'm a huge fan of term just because I think it's a great way of hedging your bet. And you hinted at before, how does this change the quality of life for the family? Say if that single parent can now afford the home, how does that affect everything else? Does that affect vacations? Does that affect if you can send your kids off to a private school, private high school, or even for college? Does that affect their ability to get braces or other medical needs? And so when you think of 20s and 30s, you're thinking new. You're thinking new home, new cars, new kids. It's a great reason to get a term policy to cover those long-term financial responsibilities. And then as you head into your 40s and 50s, now you start to think whole life policy, because now you're talking about your legacy. And obviously you do have people out there that aren't necessarily concerned about their family or their legacy, and hopefully through the education standpoint or the education process, we can tell them what's available. But the idea is leaving this better than the way you found it, giving your family opportunity to keep this in quality of life.
For sure. So let me go a little bit my way of opening that concept a little bit further, and correct me if I'm wrong. So first of all, this is a term policy, as you explained, and obviously we have two type of policy to begin with. We have a whole life, which technically most companies, they go up to 120 years, right? Yeah. So you covered all the way to 120 years. But term is, as it says on the name of it, you just set the term. Normally it's 10 years, 15 years, 20, 25, and 30, I think is the max, right? So in this case, it fits the description of mortgages, either 15 years term, 20 years term, or 30 years term. And the reason why people get that is because if you cannot currently afford to have a whole life, because obviously it's going to cost more to insure you for the rest of your life, especially nowadays with technology and all the greatest stuff that came into life with medical side of our life. A lot of people live longer. Back in the day, it used to be like 60s and 70s. By like 70, they're expecting that it's just a matter of time. But now we have people that live over 100 years old. I have a couple of friends, that matter of fact, working in adult daycares, or those what's it called, like the senior facilities. Exactly. And they say most of the people that stay there, they're over 85 years old. The range is between 85 to 95. They have a couple of people over 100 years old that they live there. And guess what? The reason why those people actually afford to live there, because it's not some cheap place to live, because they provide you, it's like a hotel every day. Right. They provide everything, housekeepers to clean your room, 3 meals, and all kinds of entertainment. They have like 2-3 times a week parties. Yeah, they all cost money, right? Facility need to be all clean, nice. It's all cost for the owner of the facility to have that actually provided to all those people. So it's minimum price for those is like $4,500 a month. That's like the cheapest one you can find around. Yeah. So the people that can afford to be there, I can bet my life behind it, more than 60% of them do have some sort of financial vehicle that pays for that, because nobody after 65, 70 years old gonna work and make money and be able to live in that kind of place. Well, that brings me to other side of the whole thing, that life is always two-part. Either you have an easy start and hard finish, or hard start and easy finish. So if you're in a younger age, like squeeze yourself a little harder and plan your life, especially when it comes to your financial, work harder, save some money, and put it in the right places so you have investment. So when you get older and you're not able to perform as well as like your younger age, you don't need to work as hard. You don't need to be the guy in Walmart that works at 77 years old because he has to. Right. Absolutely. Right? Let's be realistic about it. So it's our choice. During the younger age, when the cost of life insurance products are way less, right? Because you're younger, you're more healthy, and once you have it, you can have it for, if it's a term insurance, let's say 30 years term, they don't test you every year. Once you have it, you go for the whole term. If the term is 30 years, as in term policy, you're good for the whole 30 years. The only thing is, after 30 years, right? If you want to get a life insurance, you're 30 years older. Now it's a little bit of a challenge. That's why if you can afford to buy a whole life There's different type of whole life, universal life, just a whole life policy, and multiple different branch of it, which we can explain further in future episodes. We don't want to take this to like 2 hours for us, right? But the whole point is, it's good to have something which is better than nothing. Right? That's the whole point of having those term policies. You can't afford to have a whole life, it's okay. At least have the term one that, let's say, cover your mortgage, right? Let's talk about one other product for the sake of saving time. Juvenile or college fund. This is something that I think a lot of parents nowadays, especially the cost of education is so high. I think they're struggling nowadays, and a lot of kids have to go to work and pay for their own college, or be super good student to get like financial aid and all that. Let's talk about that.
Academic scholarships. Yeah, he's very familiar with this.
Yes, so it's something that I always love to show parents. One, when we look at their term policy and we look at what their whole life would be on them, and they say, man, that's expensive. Yes. Always like, do you see the value in the whole life policy? You understand why it's important? Yeah. And the whole life has a component called cash value.
Yep.
So even with you just paying your premium, regular scheduled premium on the whole life policy, not overfunding it, over a course of a few years, you start to accrue cash value in your policy. Now that cash value is tax-free, and that cash value is accessible for you to pull out at any time. Now, with that cash value, depending on who you get the life insurance policy with, if you get it through a mutual company like, say, a Guardian, it goes off of how the company performs internally, and it's usually about a 4% increase you get back on your whole life policy. The other ones that are publicly held go off of the stock market, how it performs in that manner. Now, in saying that, I reverse it and I'm like, imagine if you were 5 years old and your parents bought a whole life policy for you. One, you locked in insurability at an age of a 5-year-old. You're full of health, whole life ahead of you.
Yep.
Two, now you've also created an investment vehicle for your kid. Now you're putting this money in an account for your kid that is tax-free and is going to grow to where when they turn 16, 17, you want to look at a car, they have cash value that you can pull out. When it comes to 18 and they want to go to college, they have cash value to pull out. When they're ready to take on the policy, you can pass it off to them to take on, and they accept the responsibility of taking it.
Let's just don't forget the fact that this money being pretty much deposited very small amount, like slowly throughout the years, through the parents, right? Let's say those policies, generally speaking, they're not that expensive. I think they're ranging from anywhere, depends on the health of the person, if they're a smoker or not, right? Sure. Preferred or not. But they're ranging like from $50, $60 all the way to like $150, $200 max.
Well, yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
And when you're talking about, so I did a $1 million policy last year on a young lady. She was probably about 23 years old, non-smoker, good condition. $1 million on her was about $800, $700 a month for her. So, and that's $1 million policy. When you think about a policy on someone who's a juvenile, a kid, someone,
yes,
it's going to be significantly lower. If you want to do $1 million, you get an idea to be higher, but the goal is if you're looking for something that's going to support college, you know, like you said, there's different platforms like a Whole Life 121, Whole Life 99, Whole Life 95. Those platforms you can use, one, to show higher cash value sooner for like a juvenile policy for utilization for college, stuff like that, but very affordable policies that everyone should look at.
Definitely. Actually, this is a great example, but I'm sure if we go to the core of the way you basically structure the policy, it was mainly towards cash value, if I'm not mistaken, because that was the whole intention of the policy.
Right.
I know enough to be dangerous. So, but if you're going towards like just pure, more of a death benefit,
Wealth
less
transfer.
Yes, then it's cheaper.
Yes.
Because I do have 2 policies, each 1 million, and then I have another one $500,000, and my payment for each one of them is just under $300. and I got them probably around 2017, like back to back, like within 3 months. Each month I got one of them. I feel like, now that my health is pretty good, I'm still young, let me get it. But what I'm trying to say is it all depends how we structure the policy.
Absolutely.
Correct? And the cash value is actually the key. The biggest wonder in life policy is the cash value, because that's where I was saying earlier, you don't need to die for somebody else to take advantage of that policy. You can actually utilize it like an investment vehicle while you're alive. You just cash out of it. And the beauty of it is, let's say it's a $1 million policy and you cash out $150,000. Guess what? If you don't pay it back to your policy, if something have to happen to you, the beneficiary getting $1 million minus $150 that you borrowed.
Right. It's guaranteed by your death benefit, essentially.
Absolutely.
Pretty much. So, do you want to add anything?
That you talked about juveniles, and we always encourage it, especially when it comes to just new additions to the family. The earlier you can get for instance, a whole life policy on them, the better. Just because as they get older, obviously whether it's a kid or a teenager or into their adult years, things happen. Health issues happen. So,
of course,
autism or whatnot. So the earlier you can get them, you get them before you get any kind of diagnosis to where it could be an automatic knockout. And so that really protects your children as they're going to the future, be able to give them an investment vehicle.
For sure, for sure. Do you guys want to add anything towards the end?
I do want to talk about something that you kind of touched on about the senior care facilities, because we are working with some of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
I want to say the national average cost is a little bit over $4,500 to go there. And when you talk about these people who say life insurance policies, I don't care about what I leave behind, I don't care about what affects me.
Yes.
There are some living benefits in life insurance policies. One of them being a long-term care rider. So
Yes.
when you think about how these people are
Speaking
paying
of that,
for
speaking
these
of
senior
that,
care
yeah.
facilities,
Yeah, for sure.
it's a whole life policy. You have a long-term care rider on it. And what that does, upon diagnosis that you need to be in a care facility, you get access to that death benefit to pay for a care facility or pay for skilled nursing at your house. That way you don't have to put the burden of care on your spouse. So even for the people who only care about themselves, there's a lot of value in the policies.
Yeah, most good policies, they come with at least 3 of these riders, right? Critical illness,
Long-term care, waiver of premium.
waiver premium,
So
and then accelerated deaths, like for people that are terminal, like cancer and all that. They can say, hey, I know, doctor just told me 6 months, that's all I got. So let me actually go in here. So doctor tell me I only got 6 months. So what should I do? I have $1 million. I can just cash out $200,000. I can take my whole family for probably a tour of Europe, all paid by me and something in memory of me, because 6 months later I might not be around. And where else you would have $200,000 sitting aside, like really, for paying for something like that? And then guess what? If something happened to you after 6 months, your family get $800,000 instead of $1 million. Not a bad day.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Getting $100,000 after vacation.
Yeah, right? Plus the vacation that they had with you before you
And you can take that time off from working obligations and use that money to spend time with the family. Like
Exactly.
Back to the long-term care rider, I think that's important just because typically if you just go for a standalone option, people tend to look at when they're 50 years old and up, and that's very similar to like car insurance, where if you don't use it, well, you lose it. So that's why I think it's very important that through the whole life policy we built into a death benefit. If you don't need to have it, well, the death benefit remains intact. But if you do need it, those options are available. So I'm not going to use the word waste money, but it's a built-in strategy to where you're protecting your money.
Definitely. With that being said, if you guys don't have anything else to add, I want to kind of finalize our today's podcast.
For sure.
Sounds good.
All right. So thank you guys for joining. You guys that been in those 4 or 5 cameras over there, each one of them are in one of those social medias platform. I guess I have the TikTok, 2 of my Instagrams, and the Facebook. Please go to our YouTube. This is going to be edited, and by next Friday it's going to be uploaded into our YouTube. It's live already in YouTube channel, but the edited version, clean up version, going to be in our YouTube. And if you think our materials are helpful, please share it with your friends and family, because it's never enough, especially when it comes to this kind of topic. We had many good topics like how to protect your asset. Now you bought a home. Matter of fact, let me ask you this question. Now that you purchase your home, how the home is recorded? Is it under your name, your personal name? Like if I look it up under Clark County, is it showing your name?
My home? Yes.
Okay. Well, this is one tip you're going to get from this episode. Please, starting from tomorrow, we can offer that service to you. I do it for like 50% off. But look into family trust, okay? So imagine if something happened, which is called accident, and happened that you're at fault and that bad lawyer tried to sue you, guess what they're going to look for first? What kind of asset you got. And it's public information. If they put your name in Clark County and that property pops up, first thing they do is they're going after that.
Right.
But now that's one of the benefits of having a living trust. You put your home under that living trust. The trust name would be ABC Trust, whatever you want to name it. Big Daddy's Trust. I don't care what its name. It's just not going to be your name, not going to be the property's name, some other name, right? And nobody knows. Only you know, and the attorney or yourself that recorded that document. Nobody knows who's the owner of that trust. So that's one way of protecting your asset from bad lawyers and stuff, things that can happen. On top of that, let's say in your case, your dad passed away, right? Many people, if they didn't use this kind of services, or they didn't know, or nobody guide them, they go through probate.
Yeah.
Did you guys went through probate?
Well, no, not at all. He didn't have assets at all. So
Okay. Well, if he did have asset, like home, especially, that home, because of not having living trust, it would have go to estate. Estate would hold probate court and probate service, and the reason why they do that is because they want to make sure the person that passed away had liability. Maybe they have mortgage on the home, maybe they owe credit cards or other loans, car loan, whatever. They want to make sure that they take over all their asset, and then they basically auction them out, pay all the creditors, and then if anything left, then it goes to the heirs. But guess what? If you have a living trust, let's say it's you and your wife, right? And the living trust already have your asset. One of them would be your home. Under it, the trust is technically already dictating what happens if either one of you is not in the picture anymore. So your home would never ever go to probate. Probate is a very lengthy kind of like a process, and a lot of money to be spent. Like at the end, because of it's not in probate attorneys' benefit to finish it quick. Let's just be real, because they're charging hourly, right? Or they get a percentage of it. So the bigger the case would be, the longer it takes, it's benefiting them. It's not like they're looking out for you. Let's just be real. My attorney's friend gonna hate me, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna say the way it is, right? In the car insurance business, which that's one leg of our company, it's the same way. Car insurance attorneys are there to help you, yes, but at the same time, look what's happening today in our town. 3 years ago versus today, the cost of insurance is tripled. Why? Because a lot of people, they have a little fender bender and they end up making a freaking $500,000 policy. I mean, policy, we keep talking about policy, case out of it. Why? Because they just say, hey, come here, in a wreck, need a check, come here, I'll help you. Like this kind of attorney, right? So now, something that could have been done with probably a couple thousand end up being $500,000 case, right? And now we're living in a more dangerous town when it comes to car and auto insurance and all that. A lot of liabilities, a lot of more people are obviously basically moved in here, and there's a lot. If I want to continue keep firing up, there's a lot to cover. But what I'm trying to say is, go back to our episodes, right? We had an entire episode with trust attorney. We covered this whole thing in depth. And if you have any further question that we might have forgot to include in that particular episode, just ask, put a comment, or just reach out on social media. Best ways, actually, me and my assistant, we consistently monitor our YouTube comments. Just ask us right there. We can make sure that we bring the same attorney or maybe different attorney in here. And if I can answer it myself, I will answer it myself. If not, then I definitely bring the attorney in here and we can talk further to answer all your questions. But these are stuff that, guys, you have to know, especially in United States of America. This is not your Italy or where I came from, okay? Things are different in here, especially for people like myself that we're first generation here. You just don't know a lot about laws and what's happening in this country. You guys born and raised in here, you probably don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, a lot of things are not taught in a school. That's why we're here. We're trying to take a different approach to what have to be said and known, and unfortunately, it's not there.
You know what? And you kind of said it. My stepfather is close to retirement, and so we had one of our colleagues, Brent, and went and talked and gave him the Medicare talk. And he's like, "No, Joe, I never knew this." Well, you know what, Larry, you've been a cook at the Bellagio for the last 25 years. You're not supposed to know this, but you have guys like you, me, and Matt. We specialize in specific areas, so it's our, education, our expertise is going to help you when it comes to making these decisions, these big decisions.
For sure,
for
for
income
sure.
protection and everything else.
Yes, definitely. So please go to Modern Choice Financial Podcast. Google it. It's all over the Google. We are in 5 different podcast platforms if you want to just listen to the audio version of it, or if you want to go to YouTube. All our social medias, including our YouTube, is on the Realtor Mehrooz, and there's a playlist there. It's dedicated to Modern Choice Financial Podcast. We talk about all these different topics. Hopefully it's helpful. Please share if you think this materials are helpful for you or your friends or loved one. Other than that, thank you very, very much. Peace, and see you guys in the next episode. Thanks.